Huffington Post has an incredible story about a gorilla named Coco who's been trained by humans to do very human-like things. She's 44 years old, and she, quote, uses over 1,000 signs from American Sign Language to communicate and has gained a sophisticated understanding of spoken English through the help of a team of psychologists and researchers who have spent decades training her. So I'm already floored. That's amazing. Let's continue here and see what else they have to say. A new study is suggesting that the ape may be closer to verbal communication than we've thought. Published last month in the journal Animal Cognition, the research finds that gorillas may be capable of complex vocal behavior that defies previous beliefs about their communicative abilities. Researchers analyzed 71 hours of video showing Coco interacting with the scientists who have trained her, discovering that she used 9 different learned behaviors that required some degree of control over her vocal ability and breathing. These behaviors included blowing a raspberry, which Coco did when she wanted a treat, playing wind instruments, mimicking a conversation by jabbering into a fake telephone, coughing on demand, and blowing her nose. They say Coco's behavior was voluntary and appears to be the result of living with humans throughout her life. So, that's absolutely fascinating, and we knew that gorillas and apes in general, monkeys, baboons, that they're pretty smart. But this is above and beyond what the scientists themselves thought not that long ago. So what's my overall takeaway from this story? My overall takeaway, it actually feeds into something which I've spoken about before on the show, which is the idea that in the nature versus nurture realm, there's no one clear winner. They're both true. They're both right. See, oftentimes it's polarizing, and some people say, typically on the left more, people say, it's all nurture, everything is environment, your mind is a blank slate, it's a lump of clay, and society and culture shapes it. And the right is more on the determinism front, and in that camp, and they say, no, everything is like genetic and biological, and, you know, you are what you are. If you're lazy, and you ain't gonna get a goddamn job. You know the way they think, you know. They're more willing to discount environmental stuff and just say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I don't care if you're in a shitty situation. So, but I've always maintained from the beginning, both are true. It's not one or the other. Now, sometimes it is the case that it is one or the other. So there are plenty of issues where there are hardcore biological facts that are just scientific realities that are genetic, they're in your DNA, you're not going to override it, it is what it is. You know, you can't change it no matter how much you will yourself out of it. Sexuality is one of those things. If you're gay, you're gay. You're not just going to, you know, wish your way out of it. So that's nature. On the nurture front, you know, sometimes the things are purely nurture, right? I mean, it's almost purely nurture. The amount of money you end up making in a given economic system, because so much environmental stuff goes into it. Who do you know? Was nepotism involved? How were you raised? How were you trained when you were raised? Were you going to inherit your parents' business? Did you have to go to college to then try to get into a different field? There's so many external things going on that's almost all nurture. But in this case, and in most cases, I think it's a mix of both. So there are hardcore limits. We're talking about a gorilla here. The gorilla is not going to be the next Stephen Hawking. It's just not going to happen. Hardcore genetic, biological, nature limits. But there's also the upside of nurture. When you raise the gorilla a certain way and you train the gorilla a certain way, the gorilla is going to have talents that other gorillas do not have. So the culture and the environment is also important. So my main takeaway from this, other than it being just absolutely fascinating at face value, is that in the nature versus nurture debate, it's true that I don't think either side wins. They're both true, and we should all take that balanced approach when looking at issues like that.